There, Carole. Good to see you
Max.
again.
Good
How
to
are
see you again.
Yeah, so I'm Maximus Spartacus, West Point grad, Bachelor of Science in American History, served for 20 years around the world.
And my background is as the National Education Policy Analyst. My background is, my doctorate is in curriculum and instruction in education. I do a lot of work at the national and state level with lawmakers on our policy for education. I do a lot of speaking and writing, and I come across some really interesting questions from my audience and from some of my readers. And one of the things that we keep coming back to are, right now, are we going through an American Revolution? So they say, well, why did we ever have our first American Revolution? What prompted it?
Well, let me tell you, it was not prompted by a bunch of white guys who wanted to be racist, bigoted homophobes. Okay, I know that's kind of popular amongst a lot of people. That's what they think our nation was founded on. It's not. Our founders had to decide, where do our rights as human beings come from? Do they come from a single monarch? Do they come from a group of people in a central government, whether that is a socialist central committee or whether that is a Congress of elected officials who have no term limits? Is that a small group of people, like a group of oligarchs, or by a judiciary of unelected officials? Where do our rights come from? This was a central question that they were trying to solve. And they looked at some of the philosophers that came out of the Enlightenment era, and they came to the conclusion that ultimately our rights as human beings come from God. So that was the ideological origins of the American Revolution. And there's a lot of great books. That's a good book I studied in college. This is a great book here by Alan West. And I'll just go back, and he talks about this in great deal, talks about Hobbes and Locke and Rousseau and Montesquieu. But let me just tell you, this is something quote from his book that Patrick Henry had. And Patrick Henry wrote, "The Constitution is not an instrument for the government to restrain the people. It is an instrument for the people to restrain the government." So that is one of the reasons that we wrote the Constitution as we did. And ultimately, when we decide to erode the Constitution, what we're essentially doing is eroding our rights and abrogating our rights to our government. That's it in a nutshell, Carole.
That's a very interesting concept, and many would disagree with you, but that is our founding roots.
Yes,
was
it is.
that our rights do come from God. And in fact, if you look in our founding documents, you do find that these unalienable rights have been given to our Maker.
That's right.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you very much,
address
Carole.
this again
All
later.
right, sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, let's